Something you used to hear a whole lot. Don't hear it as much today, but you do occasionally still hear it. And people would go on and on about this very, very subject. Prayer in schools. That's what's wrong. We took prayer out of school. Heard that over and over and over that was the root cause of all society's problems and everything that's going on, the debauched things, the homosexuality, you name it, because of prayer in schools. As you know, if you've been following this channel, I have been sharing over and over and over the things coming out of what? Well, the Christian church. Run a website called www.boycottchurches.org that has an RSS feed that continually shows all these cases coming out of the churches of Christendom. It is an epidemic. There's no doubt about it. It's an epidemic. It's continuing. It does not stop. And that's just the ones that get exposed. And so I'm following Ephesians 5:11 that says, take no part in their worthless deeds of evil behavior. I'm paraphrasing to expose them. My friends, the whole thing is that church is known for prayer. If praying takes place any place, it takes place in church, right? Would anybody dispute that? Prayers are very open in church. But yet, look what comes out of the church. Are these public prayers the answer? Well, let's continue on. The stories just don't end. And whether you like it or not, this is not something that can be made up. These are very real. And it just does not stop and does not stop and does not stop. Day to day, if you follow me, there's new cases that come up and new cases that come up. We had in Birmingham just shared yesterday, a pastor over in East Birmingham. Come to find out he was there under a assumed name, and he had been on the lam for 20 years out of, I believe, Indiana for child molestation, sexually abusing a child. And he was still pastoring right here in Birmingham. Right here in Birmingham. It doesn't, as they say, it just does not stop. We're still 2021. We're now one day away from the holiday they call Thanksgiving here in the United States. It is November 24th, 2021. And, well, let's start with some cases that come up from the news. That's all I do. Right here, May the 17th, 2021, Sunnyside man charged with rape of a child. This wasn't just any man. This 46-year-old man in Sunnyside been charged with raping a young child. Sunnyside police say a victim came forward saying that she had been raped and abused by 46-year-old Nathan Henry Marcello, starting when she was 6. Starting when she was 6. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if that were your 6-year-old child? Could have been. It happened to someone's 6-year-old child. Could have been yours. Could have been your pastor. Could have been your church. Police reported that they learned Marcello is a pastor at a Sunnyside church involved in youth ministry. Well, members of the congregation contacted Action News, clarifying that Marcello is a member of the congregation who's been involved in ministry, but is not a pastor nor part of the church's leadership. Oh, they want to clarify that as if that made a difference to the 6-year-old, but he was certainly put in a position, wasn't he? Probably volunteering. Marcello had been previously fired from the Sunnyside School District after child pornography had been found on his computer, but yet there he was, molesting a 6-year-old over the years in a church where the praying takes place. Let's be real. Where the praying takes place. Others who the victim disclosed abuse to say they spoke with Marcello and confronted him about the accusations, but that he laughed at them, denied the crimes, and said if he did it, he doesn't remember. Police say Marcello was arrested by police and in the interview with investigators denied any sexual abuse. He's being charged with first-degree rape of a child and 2 counts of first-degree child molestation. And they're trying to get the courts to say that he is prohibited from volunteering or working with children and vulnerable adult populations. First case that we're talking about this morning. Well, let's see. Religion News Service, which is one place I get a lot of these cases from July 9th of this year. A prominent Anglican bishop takes leave of absence amid ongoing accusations of mishandling abuse allegations. And this is nothing new if you have done the investigating. Prominent Anglican bishop has announced a leave of absence after admitting he mishandled allegations of abuse. By the way, on that previous case just went through, it's not unusual. Instead of turning things over to the authorities, these churches will hear of the abuse from the child, and they will confront the one that is being accused by the child, and they will make their own way instead of letting the rest of Bishop Stuart Rutch III of the Anglican Church in North America's Upper Midwest diocese had known since 2019 that former lay minister Mark Rivera had been charged with felony child abuse, but he did not tell people in the diocese about the abuse allegations until last month, which Rutch has called, admitted, a regrettable error. That decision and controversy over Rutch's as well as other leaders within the diocese handling of the abuse allegations led him to step aside temporarily. I want you to be able to trust me as your bishop and pastor, he said in a public letter from Thursday July. I feel like the best way to walk in integrity now is to step aside as this process moves forward and as efforts are made to serve any survivors of abuse. At least 10 survivors' allegations of abuse by Rivera have been reported in the church since 2019. 10 since 2019, with allegations including rape, assault, child sexual abuse, and grooming. According to a letter from Rutch in May, Rivera attended Church of the Resurrection in Wheaton, Illinois from the 90s to 2013. According to one victim's mother, he also served as a prayer minister, preschool volunteer, youth leader, and small group leader. Isn't that interesting? Prayer is not protecting anybody and keeping the evil out of church. How's it going to do that in schools, people? Going to get prayer in school. Prayer, that's the answer. Well, why is this stuff coming out of church where prayer is prevalent? Prevalent prayer. He was a prayer minister, praying, Preying, 10 survivors of his abuse. From 2013 to 2019, Rivera was lay minister at Christ Our Light Church in Big Rock, Illinois. Rivera was arrested in 2019 and is being prosecuted for felony sexual assault and predatory abuse of victims under 13 years of age. The police say there's still ongoing investigation. He's out on bond. His trial was set to begin in October of this year. Go back here again. I want to remind you that this particular pastor we're talking about was, what is it at right here? What's it called? Prayer pastor. What was that? I didn't make this up. His position, I just want to make sure that we don't forget that, because I just want to tie this in the simple fact that, yeah, a prayer minister. And people want to talk about prayer in school, but let's hear some more of this guy's story. First to report Rivera for sexual assault was a 9-year-old, the prayer minister, sexually assaulting a 9-year-old child whose mother, a member of the Christ Our Light Church, came forward to the church's leadership in May 2019. The mother said she also notified Church of the Resurrection leadership in June 2019 of 7 other potential victims. After Rivera's arrest, Rush said 2 other people came forward in November 2020 with allegations against Rivera. One of those was Joanna Rudenborg, who alleged Rivera raped her twice while he was living as her next door neighbor. Rudenberg has also reported the rape allegations to local authorities. Rudenborg has strongly criticized Rush for not telling the diocese of the church about the allegations or taking immediate action to see if there were other victims of abuse. They just laid back, let the abuse continue. The church had my rape story, a second abuse story, and a 9-year-old's abuse story. So the people all the way at the top knew for sure of 3 different sexual abuse or assault stories, and they did not make any moves to bring in any kind of third-party investigation. They also did not take any steps to notify the congregation at Church of the Resurrection that a man who has been involved with the church for years in various capacities, including prayer, was now credible to something really serious. After reading more than a team of survivors and advocates requested third-party involvement in the in January 2021, this took place in 2019, these things began to come to light. The church publicly shared news of some of the allegations in the May 4th letter. They announced they had hired a third-party investigating firm, Grand River Solutions. The firm was selected without input from the survivors. Which also admitted to this mishandling of the allegations in a letter. I made regrettable errors in this process. When the original allegations came out against Mark in 2019, first name here, I mistakenly assumed that the necessary criminal investigation was a sufficient next step. I thought it best to let the county and district attorney's office lead a thorough investigation resulting in a clear ruling. I anticipated after this process we would inform the church of the court's ruling. I naively expected the trial to occur much sooner than it has. Following the announcement, Rudenborg and a team of survivors and advocates expressed concerns about Green River Solutions' investigative approach. Rudenborg said the firm lacks experience in trauma-informed care for victims and their families and has ineffective outreach strategies for finding other potential victims. After speaking with Grand River Solutions, Rudenborg and the 9-year-old victim's mother emailed Rush declining to participate in the investigation. On 26 June, Rudenborg shared her story of abuse on Twitter. Mark hid in plain sight, quoting, grooming girls, women, and the entire community to accept physical boundary violations no other male adults could have gotten away with, she wrote, and included several pictures from Facebook of Rivera with his minors. According to Rudenborg, Lurch ignored 5 appeals by herself and the 9-year-old victim's mother, asking to make the results of the Grand River Solutions investigation public. Yet, Rudenborg's Twitter thread gained traction online, and after public theologian and Anglican priest and Reverend Esau Macaulay interviewed on Rudenborg's behalf, Lutz released a statement on June 29th agreeing to publish the investigation firm's full report. Since then, others in the leadership have raised concerns about how the abuse allegations were handled. It took too long to inform the churches involved, the families involved. They did not try to find all instances of sexual abuse. They did not incorporate the survivors into the process so that they would know what was going on and what was needed to be done. Just, what can I say? It speaks for itself. Folks, it speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. I hadn't tuned in heavy to the Catholic Church. I think that's been in the news enough to satisfy the curiosity of our program here and what we're talking about in this continual affair of what comes out of Christianity. But there's another institution that deals with Christendom that I want to go over, and that is Christian schools, K through 12. We'll start out with a case from Pennsylvania, July 9th of this year, dealing with a first grader. Isn't this lovely? This is a Christian school. You got to love it when that part. That's what I'm saying. These are places where prayer is wide open, folks. This is not any place that restricts prayer. This is a place that promotes prayer. And unfortunately, this evil goes unchecked, and a lot of times the churches go at lengths to cover it up. Pennsylvania school teacher made first grader receive oral sex as discipline. The article starts out warning this story contains graphic and disturbing details about sexual abuse. Published July 9th, 2021. A pastor and former Westchester Christian school teacher has been charged with sexually abusing a first grade student during the 2007-2008 school year, the Chester County DA's office said Friday. Last month, a 20-year-old man apparently told his mom he was sexually assaulted at the Westchester Christian School on Paoli Pike by Randy Boston, according to the affidavit. Boston, 63, currently works as a pastor at the Bible Baptist Church in Shikshini. A Childline report of suspected child abuse and neglect was filed with the West Goshen Township Police Department on June 1. The victim told police on June 2 that Boston performed oral sex on him and then made him perform oral sex on him as well, the affidavit said. The victim said he remembered this happening 3 times, but could only remember the details of one incident that happened before school began when children were in the gymnasium, organized by grade, waiting to go to their classrooms. The defendant stated that during one occasion he stuck his tongue out at a fellow classmate. That Boston saw it. Boston then, a fifth grade teacher, came over to him, ordered the victim to follow him to the bottom floor of the school under the gym. The victim stated that it was normal for teachers to take children for one-on-ones for discipline. Once Boston and the victim arrived downstairs, he was escorted to a room. Boston shut the door behind him. The victim says Boston, hired by the school in 1979, then made him take off his belt, pull down his pants, something he vividly remembers. Then Boston put his mouth around his penis, stopped, made the victim put his mouth around his erect penis. The victim told authorities he was repulsed and disgusted and that he felt he would be in trouble if he left the room. After the incident, Boston took the child back to the gym, made him apologize in front of the whole class to a specific girl for sticking his tongue out at her. The victim told authorities that he remembers similar incidents happening but can't remember specific details like he could during the first time. During a meeting with Westchester Christian School Pastor Daniel Brabson last month, police was told that Boston did not normally interact with students under fifth grade. Boston, however, could have been involved with younger students for disciplinary reasons while monitoring before school gatherings, according to Brabson, which is consistent with the victim's story. Police detectives on July 7 went to Boston's Shikshini home, and Boston agreed to following them to Pennsylvania State Police Troop P Barracks in Berwick for an interview. Boston told police he knew why he was there and that he got a phone call from the victim's dad on July 5th. Pastor initially denied the allegation against him and said he didn't know what the authorities were talking about, but after speaking with him further, he did admit he was attracted to young boys and that he still struggles with his desire toward them. Oh, isn't that lovely? Christian pastor loving them kids, wants to give them some hands-on sex education. Isn't that wonderful? A detective asked Boston if he was attracted to elementary school age children. He replied he was. He then said he was attracted to their bodies, specifically their buttocks. It is lovely. Christian school teacher. He was charged with involuntary deviant sexual intercourse with a child, institutional sexual assault, and other related charges. He was a teacher at the school from 1979 to 2008. If you don't do the math there, there's almost 30 years. Chester County DA Deb Ryan says, we're waging a war on child abuse and we will come after every single pedophile in this county. This epidemic must end. The impact on child abuse is catastrophic. Yes, it is. And the impact and the epidemic is in the Christian church where the praying takes place. Yes, they are allowed, and that is what they're known for, is PRAYING. And I'm making sure they're equally or more importantly known for their other praying, PREYING. If you know anything else about this case or about this man, you're encouraged to call the West Goshen Township Police Department at 610-969-7400 as soon as possible. Here we go, folks. I just don't know. What do you say? If you have any sense at all, what do you say? How do you deal with this? Well, you should boycott churches. You should not put these churches on a pedestal. You should not sit there and say that prayer is the answer to our problems in schools when churches have prayer, and this is an epidemic coming out of the Christian church. Why don't we come real close to home here, folks? March 19th, 2021, you know where Prattville, Alabama is, just north of Montgomery, if I'm getting it right. Two unrelated reports of sexual crimes, Prattville Christian Academy, where I'm sure they support and encourage prayer, seemingly of both kinds, March 19, 2021, reported via the Elmore Autauga News, Local News Matters. This article is written by Sarah Stevens. Two unrelated cases of alleged illegal sexual activity at Prattville Christian Academy have been confirmed by Chief Assistant District Attorney C.J. Robinson. For these names, you can verify this stuff. I'm not making this crap up. I don't have the time or energy to make anything up about this, and it is all over the place. And if you took the time to open your eyes, I'm not spending a lot of time digging for this. I'm just basically just entering 2 or 3 words in a search engine, and I'm not digging at all, really. They just pop up. One arrest was made Friday of a former assistant baseball coach at the school. Remember, this is Prattville Christian Academy. He has been identified as Matthew James Kicker, 23 of Elmore County, who's no longer employed at the school. Wonder why. Sources tell us he had been released from employment prior to his arrest for alleged school policy violations, which were not related to these recent allegations. How sweet. The arrest warrant and multiple search warrants were executed, and Kicker was placed in the Elmore County Jail on $45,000 bond. He has retained an attorney. Kicker has 2 charges at this time, including a school employee having sexual contact with a student under the age of 19, and electronic solicitation of a child. That means they found stuff either on his phone or computer. Robinson said that the alleged criminal activity occurred both on and off campus with a female student. The charges will be handled through the Elmore County court system. However, the school falls in the Prattville Police Department jurisdiction, and that agency is handling the investigation. In an unrelated matter, Robinson confirmed a recent arrest of a male student at Prattville Christian Academy had been made involving a separate case of charges for illegal sexual activity against another female student. Well, they've got their own sex education class there at that Prattville Christian Academy with his kids. We have learned that the student is no longer enrolled at the school. Boy, it's lovely, isn't it? Student safety is of the utmost importance at Prattville Christian Academy. We do pray. No, they're not saying that. I am. Prayers continue. We are a Christian school, but thoughts and prayers just not cutting it, are they? We have the same ratio, if you study it statistically, in the Christian academies, Christian schools, K through 12, as far as pedophilia, child abuse, sexual abuse, as they do in public schools, where prayer's not allowed, they say. Yeah, sorry, friends. Prayer's not the answer. Goes on and on, trying to defend and protect the name of the school here. Losing my voice. So the point I'm trying to make here this morning with that clearly is that this prayer in school program is not what they claim it to be. Good morning, Christian girl. I've been on my soapbox with this very subject for many years. So recently I started this little morning activity because I get tired of, and I started this because really going back a few years ago when the Christians were up in arms about Target allowing transsexuals, transgenders to use the restroom there, and they were talking about boycott Target, boycott. And it's like people don't realize what comes out of this Christian church. It's really sadly pathetic. So I am doing my little bit of part. I'm trying to protect kids. Something the parents are more interested in getting them into a church than they are to protect them. It's really a shame. Really, really a shame. youth pastor. Let's see if we cover one more. I do this about 30 minutes. Maybe I'll get one more in here. October 2021, just the 12th, just a little over a month ago. Well, there's a couple more here I want to get in this morning. Atlantic Christian Teachers Aide charged with sex assault. An Egg Harbor Township man who worked as a kindergarten aide at a local school is now accused of molesting 3 sisters he often babysat. George Getty III, 29, was arrested Saturday and faces 8 counts, including first-degree aggravated sexual assault of a now 10-year-old. Can you imagine? This child was less than 10 years old. He had been working at the Atlantic Christian School, who immediately notified parents of the allegations Saturday in an email sent by the chief school administrator, Karen Oblin. To the best of our knowledge, and after speaking with the detective handling the case, none of the minors involved were students from the school. Please know that the safety and protection of our students, blah, 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 blah. We hear that all the time. Thoughts and prayers are not working there, folks. They're not working there. Another school, this is November. I'm going to go back a little bit because this was an outstanding case from 2017, a few years ago. A total of 140 charges have been made against Sioux Christian Center Christian school teacher Curtis Van Dam, dating back to 2013. There's Van Dam's clean-cut Christian-looking face here in a prison uniform. A teacher from a Christian school has been charged with 84 separate counts of sexual abuse after it was claimed he abused students over a 4-year period. 5th grade teacher Curtis Van Dam, 35, of Sioux Center Christian School in northwest Iowa, is accused of abusing an unknown number of pupils from the school between 2013 and 2017. If you don't find this appalling and you still want to support this church, these churches, this Christendom, in the midst of their praying, Praying, clearly they're praying, Preying. Visit the website, boycottchurches.org. There is a RSS feed. I used to manually enter these cases for years. I took the time, and it was overwhelming. It took up an abundance of my time. So I created RSS feed, so it just goes. And all the cases I entered are still there, going back for years and years. This is an epidemic, folks. Prayer in school is not the answer because am I correct? They pray in church? They still pray in church? Or has that become something that you can get on a soapbox and say, put prayer back in church? Well, I think they still pray in church. And praying in church, what do we got going there, huh? What do they got going there praying in church, folks? Well, just go back and read the cases, look at what's going on, see it for the epidemic it is, and get your balance with this thing instead of continuing to support this institution of Christendom where all these kids are getting molested in a horrible, horrible way. Good morning, folks. I spent 35 minutes, and I'm average about 30 minutes each morning on this little program. Thank you for joining. Wake up. We are exposing Christendom churches for what they really are. Jesus said, you will know them by their fruits. That's out of the Christian Bible. And it also says, Ephesians 5:11, expose them. That's what we're doing. Have a good day.